see you guys in the dark.
I'm autistic, and I was around 10 to 11 when this happened, since it was a couple of years before we moved. I had recently gotten my first phone at the time. My dad and my uncle started going to this small Mexican place nearby his apartment at the time. After my dad had taken us on a few shorter initial trips there, the visits to the restaurant gradually became longer. They made killer nachos over there, and one of the regulars offered to buy a soda or two. So when my dad asked if we wanted to go, we never really minded making the trip. What we did mind was staying at the Mexican place for hours with no end in sight. The visits became hours long at a time, with my dad and my uncle repeatedly getting drunk. It wasn't my mom. And with my mom, my siblings, and me having absolutely nothing to do. The music was so loud, we couldn't even have a normal conversation, leaving my mom absolutely bored and surrounded by drunk men in her family, and knowing she was dragged there simply to be the designated driver while stuck with 3 kids who were getting increasingly tired. The music bothered me a lot and made my hearing feel overloaded, so I often went outside where it was quieter, always in the sight of my parents. One time, we arrived there on a summer afternoon, around 2:30 p.m. on a Sunday. We ended up staying there until 8:30 at the soonest. Because I remember this occurring around nightfall. I distinctly remember taking my phone charger so I wouldn't completely die of boredom 100% of the time. I didn't have many friends at the time due to my lack of social skill, and everyone over ostracizing me. So I got a phone call from a friend with the music being ridiculously loud. I went outside right in front of the window to take the call when it was quieter. We mostly talk about the weekend's homework. After I hung up, I turned around to go back to the restaurant when I see a man. I've seen him around often enough, but never talked to him. He asks, "How old are you?" I tell him my age, being the naive kid that I was. "What are you doing outside?" I tell him that I needed to take a call, but I'm done, and want to tell my parents that we should go home. "How about I take you home instead?" Before I have the chance to respond, he starts to grab my wrist. Chills are sent down my spine, and I froze. I see my mom shake my drunk dad and head towards the restaurant door. The man darted away, letting me go. We went home immediately after that. It's been years since we've been there, and if I recall correctly, they've been closed down for quite a while. So, friendly regular at the Mexican place, I don't know what the hell happened to you after that, but I don't want to know. So let's never meet ever again.
This was in the 90s when I was about 15. My mom, my best friend, and I were in Florida on a vacation for 3 weeks. We discovered Sizzlers and really loved it, so we ended up going for dinner there quite often and also got to know the waiters a bit. One night, we noticed a middle-aged man sitting at a nearby table who was staring, and I mean really staring, at me. He was with a young boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old. They had already finished their dinner, but the guy was just transfixed, completely ignoring his kid. He wasn't smiling or frowning, just a blank-faced stare. My mom was getting really uncomfortable, so she spoke to one of the male waiters who we'd become friendly with. I don't know what exactly she said to him, but I think it was basically to help keep an eye on it. It might be worth mentioning that my mother is usually quite comfortable with confronting strangers if required, but something made her choose not to do this with this case. The guy and the little kid eventually left, though it looked like what seemed like an eternity. Once they'd left, we were just relieved and carried on our dinner. I think we were going for at least another hour before we were ready to go. When we were getting into the car, I noticed another car parked a bit behind us, with someone sitting inside. It was the guy from the restaurant, without a kid in the sight. Even worse, when we started driving, he started driving his car, without his headlights on, and just started following us. We basically freaked the hell out. My mom started driving in a different direction of the hotel as to not lead him to where we were staying. We drove around for a little before we eventually lost him, and finally getting to the hotel. My mom went straight to the front desk to inform them about what happened, and to please keep an eye out. I'm not sure if they contacted the police, but we were all just glad to be safe. Thankfully, nothing else happened after that, but it was scary as hell at the time, especially because he seemed to have lost his kid and just waited for us. Anyway, freak from Sizzlers, let's not meet ever again.
This was in the 90s when I was about 15. My mom, my best friend, and I were in Florida on vacation for 3 weeks. We discovered Sizzlers and really loved it. We ended up going for dinner there quite often, and also got to know the waiters a bit. One night, we noticed a middle-aged man was sitting at a nearby table, who was staring, and I mean really staring at me. He was with a young boy, maybe 5 to 6 years old. They had already finished their dinner, but the guy was also just transfixed, completely ignoring his kid. He wasn't smiling or frowning, just a blank-faced stare. My mom was getting really uncomfortable, so she spoke to one of the male waiters who we'd become friendly with. I don't know what exactly she said to him, but I think that it was basically to help keep an eye on it. It might be worth mentioning that my mother is usually quite comfortable with confronting strangers if required, but something made her choose not to in this case. The guy and the little kid eventually left, though it took what seemed like eternity. Once they'd left, we were just relieved and carried out our dinner. I think we were there for at least another hour before we were ready to go. When we were getting into the car, I noticed another car parked a bit behind us, someone sitting inside it. It's just a guy from the restaurant, without the kid in sight. Even worse, we started driving. He started his car, without his headlights on, and started following us. We basically freaked the fuck out. My mom started driving in a different direction at the hotel as not to let him know where we lived. We drove around for a while before we eventually lost him, finally getting to the hotel. My mom went straight to the desk to inform them about what happened, and please keep an eye out. I'm not sure if they contacted the police, but we were all just glad to be safe. Thankfully, nothing else happened after that, but it was scary as hell at the time, especially because he seemed to have lost his kid and just waited for us. Anyway, freak from Sizzlers, let's not meet again.
This happened last year. Me and my friend would always go to Denny's on Friday and get a milkshake to celebrate the beginning of the weekend. We leave work in separate cars as we go our separate ways after our milkshakes. I pull in first to the parking lot, and my friend follows suit. We park on the side of the building, and there is a guy, maybe about 20 to 35. He was wearing a Chicago Bears beanie hat. He was just standing there, seeming to be just loitering. Just watching the cars go by, smoking a cigarette. I thought nothing of it, as maybe he was waiting for someone, or was just about to leave. Anyways, me and my friend would go in and have our milkshakes. And fast forward about 20 minutes, we wrap up and leave. We both smoke a cigarette in the parking lot, and we go back into our cars and leave. I got home 20 minutes later because that's how far away I live from Denny's. I get out, go inside, and go to bed. I wake up in the morning around 1 a.m. and my dogs are barking like crazy while jumping up by the front windows of the house that face the driveway. I look out the window, and the trunk of my car is just open, so I go outside to further investigate what the hell is going on. There in the snow are footprints and a red Chicago Bears beanie. My dash and fuse box panel under the steering wheel were all open, and some wires were cut. There was also a small metal shim stuck in the ignition. I call the cops, and they fill out a report. They say it looks like someone tried to steal my car by hot wiring it. The random guy from Denny's managed to ride 20 minutes home with me in the back of the car without me even knowing he was riding with me. And then he proceeded to try to steal my car. Not sure if they ever found the guy, though. I'm a waitress at a very small Italian restaurant. There's only 12 tables in the restaurant. We usually only get 2 to 3 servers working per shift, so we notice a lot that goes on. This incident that I'm about to explain happened back in December. I would always have this man come in to eat by himself. I would say he's in his late 50s. I would always wait on him, and he would always try his best to strike up a conversation with me. He would also ask pretty personal questions about me. I once mentioned that I was a dancer, and he asked if I would send him a video of me. I told him maybe, and that was it. A few weeks passed after that, and he came in to eat during our rush, and didn't say as much as he usually would. He sat in the very back corner and ordered what he usually got. As I was taking care of my other customers, I felt that someone was watching me. You know, that feeling you get when someone is watching your every movement? That one. When I was finished writing down a table's order, I glanced at the man and saw that he was staring bullets at me. He was red in the face, just scowling at me. I thought it was odd since I've never seen him act like that before. I sort of just ignored him until I had to run him his food or ask him if he needed anything. When I did have to do that, he gave me this huge, creepy grin and kept his hands under the table. I tried to hand him his water glass, but he kept his hands there. I thought it was weird and didn't pay any attention to it since I had so many other things to do. About 20 minutes later, the man left. I went to clean his table and found multiple wadded up napkins on the floor where he was sitting. I went to see if he tipped, and he left about $7. Right next to it, he left a napkin, and I wrote a note that read, "I'll see you soon." I never told this man my name. I was so disturbed and grossed out by this that I went directly to the owner and told him everything. He sent me home right after and told me that he'd look into it when we closed. I haven't seen that man since, and I hope that I never do. A few months ago, I asked my boss if he did look into it, and he said there was nothing he could do besides ban him. I asked if we could find his name through his payments, but he always paid in cash, so it was impossible. So, guy who masturbated to me during my shift, let's not meet again. About a month ago, I had a little gathering with my friends at my flat. We got drunk and decided to order some burgers at the closest restaurant with a delivery service. The girl who took our order at the phone said that it would take about 45 minutes, up to an hour, until someone could bring us the food. So when it already rang at the door after 20 minutes, nobody thought it would be our food, and I opened the door alone. It was the delivery guy. I explained to him that I didn't have any money with me and that I would have to go upstairs to get my friend so we could pay for our food. Instead, he decides to come upstairs with me. I didn't think much of it, since I wasn't alone. We gathered around him so he could give everyone their burger and everyone could pay individually for their order. But instead, he started a conversation with us. We were watching a movie which inspired him to tell us how he smashed his new TV remote after it didn't work correctly. The next morning, he woke up with bloody hands full of splinters from the smashed screen. We all just stared at him, and he eventually gave us our bills. Before he left, he explained that he always wondered who lived in my flat, which is why he decided to bring the order himself. He is actually the owner of the burger restaurant, and not just a delivery guy. I have a pretty showy wall painting across my balcony, which is why I didn't think anything about it. This was on a Friday night. The next morning, I had to go to work. When I walked out the front door, he came running from the public parking lot across the street to talk to me. Since he now knew where I lived, he decided to wait for me this morning to ask me out for a coffee. Normally, I'm quite blunt when I'm not interested in someone, but the fact that he waited for me outside my flat really creeped me out. So I said that I was already late for work and that he could give me his number. I typed it in my phone just to realize that I had already saved his number. He confessed that he always wanted to talk to me since I entered his restaurant about a year ago. Since he was too shy, he once stole my phone while I was using the restroom, typed his number in, and put it back in the bag before I realized it was even gone. After a couple of days, he saw the fault in his plan. How could I text him when I didn't know his number was saved on my phone? So he followed me home when I was there the next time to grab some food on the go, so he would know where I lived. When he saw that I ordered some food to my place, he took the chance and hoped that he would really finally have the courage to ask me out. When he saw I had male visitors, he was discouraged, thinking one of them may be my boyfriend. Seeing I had the chance to get rid of him, I lied to him that one of them was indeed my boyfriend, but that I don't know how to really let down a man easily, which is why I took his number. He got really red and started yelling at me for 5 minutes how it wasn't nice to lead him on like that. Then he got all calm again and said that I could text him when I break up with my boyfriend. Since this whole situation made me feel uneasy, I talked with the guy in the ground floor flat that I could go through his garden back door instead of a residential building. This way, I can get into my flat from another street, since I was afraid that burger guy could still be waiting for me every now and then at the main door for me. I actually saw him once at night standing at the parking lot across the street, but I wasn't too afraid since you can't see from there if anyone is in the flat or not. Last week, he stopped beside me in his car at the street from which I can use the back door. He said it was a coincidence that he met me there, and since I didn't want to get abducted, I talked to him. He told me another really weird story, how he was previously convicted because he drifted once in the rain with his car. I agreed that was very unfair, and walked to the regular entrance, just in case that this was really just a coincidence that he took this street and wasn't figured out my trick with the back door yet. By now, I have talked to the police, and they told me to take pictures of the car, and then call them if they would turn up again. Other than that, there isn't much that they can do. So burger guy, let's not meet again, or else I will call the police on you. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.